Good morning, guys. This is Uche Joku, Sneaker Principal, and I'm on my way to work right now. Of course, self-driving, full self-driving in the Tesla Model Y Juniper. And I know people are like, yo, he's obsessed with this car. No, I'm obsessed with the technology. Over the past 2 years, I've been talking about leadership and AI and technology and the shift that needs to happen, the learning that we need to do, the focus we need to take in understanding what this technology means, not just to everyday life, but to what I do personally as an educator, and what we're teaching our kids, because this is important. I tell people all the time, I still remember when the argument was made when I was in school whether or not calculators should be permitted in standardized testing, and it was a big deal because up until that time, I've gone to school in Nigeria, raised in a very different world than in America. Everything was done by hand, long form, scratch paper. Calculators was not even. I mean, this what storefront owners use because they couldn't do the math in their heads. This is how it would seem. And then all of a sudden now, calculators are just a mainstay. It's necessary, and it's where we are now when it comes to this technology. And I have to really ask myself, as a scholar, practitioner in educational leadership and even education itself, what does this mean for the future? And we're not talking about 5, 10, 20 years down the road. We're talking about like tomorrow, like right now. Technology is moving at a pace that is incredible. Those of you who were not paying attention, I believe it was the Friday before last, I believe. No, it wasn't this past Friday. It was Friday before last when SpaceX went public, and that's Elon Musk's rocket company. And you would think that a rocket company, a company that's grounded around space travel, you wouldn't think that would be the thing that we would be talking about as far as stocks and the highest stock in the market right now. And that day he went from being the richest man in the world to being the richest man who ever lived, $1.1 trillion in net worth. And I'm telling you this right now, you might say, oh, F Elon Musk, his politics and all that stuff. Okay, fine. Listen, I'll tell you right now, if you go through all the greatest men who have ever lived, and women, there's always going to be something about them that you do not like, you do not appreciate, you think it's disgusting, because that's just the reality of human beings. No one's perfect, and the fact of the matter is, those who amass a lot of wealth tend to have some of the darkest stories or whatever behind them. But that's not the point of this conversation. The point is that there's a shift happening that we cannot avoid, and the technological revolution, it's not even a revolution, it's an evolution at this point in time, because this already happened. Right now, there's an evolution happening, and the question is, are we evolving at the same pace as others are, as far as the way they are connected to this technology, how they're seeing it, how they're connecting with it, how they're utilizing it? Because again, I'm going to tell you this, there's so much more to come, so much more to come. I was having dinner with a friend of mine yesterday, and I was telling him he was asking me about the Tesla and the car itself, and what is it I like, what are the things that I didn't like, and what are the things that, and how is it changing me over the past, now it's been 3 weeks since I had this car, and I'll tell you, I've had an incredible evolution as far as the way I feel, the way I drive, the way I'm driven now, but also the way I'm seeing the world. Because I'm sitting in this car right now, let me tell you something. As I'm talking to this camera right now, there's a camera right here that's watching me. And it gives me roughly, let's say about, I think someone said about 10, 15 seconds of looking away from forward before it tells me, hey, what are you doing? Because again, the technology itself, this full self-driving, is supervised. So it requires that I'm paying attention, that my eyes is forward and I'm scanning and all these different things. And the algorithm can tell whether I'm doing that or I'm not doing that, which is incredible. Think about it. The algorithm is watching me, and if I look down for a certain period of time, my screen starts to light and it tells me to pay attention, basically. If I'm looking on a phone or whatever the case is, that's why everything around me has to be positioned in a way where I'm always looking forward, and if I have to look away, it's for a few seconds. But this technology is doing it. It's tracking my eyes, it's tracking my movement, and I can only imagine the millions and millions and maybe even billions of data points that we put into this algorithm, so it's monitoring me, But then when I'm thinking about that, it's funny because I said to him, I also read and saw videos about this, that if, for example, I have a heart attack, God forbid, or I pass out, it is also recognizes, wait a minute, this person is no longer paying attention, as long as this person is no longer moving, this person is in a position that's now dangerous. All kinds of scans alerts will come on, but the car itself in full self-driving mode will take me to the safest location, whether it's pulling me off the road or off the highway, and will now send a message for emergency response, which is incredible. But now, what does that mean to me as an educator? I envision a classroom where there are sensors or a camera or a couple of cameras, not for the sake of just spying on kids, but collecting data. Who's paying attention? Who's not paying attention? How is the teacher? What is the teacher doing? Asking questions. Where they're positioned in the classroom. But these are all data points we can have it track. But we tell teachers, you should always be moving around. You should always be making eye contact. You should always be asking, clarifying questions. You should always be engaging in dialogue where it's not just a teacher to student one-to-one response, but you're getting all the kids into the conversation. You should be having you should be calling upon an array of kids in the classroom, so that you are creating equity, in voice and collection of responses. And often teachers forget this, and often the only time that they're reminded is if there's an observation, which is only but so many times in the school year. But imagine if there was the ability in a very non-invasive way for a similar technology be in the classrooms, and then present that data to a teacher. Hey, Mr. Njoku, doing today's lessons, this is the data points. This is the number of times you ask clarifying questions, and the kids you were calling upon. We noticed that you kept on calling upon the same one student over and over again. But in this scenario, you did amazing. Out of the 23 kids in the classroom, 20 kids actually shared voices. You called upon the 3 others. They shied away, but you worked on bringing them in. But these are all things that are observable. Someone might say, like, how does it know? It's the same way like in this car right now. Like the whole time I've been talking to you, I don't know how many minutes it's been so far. This car has been making all the decisions right now. And I'm on a busy highway, morning traffic. It's been changing lanes. It's been slowing down to let people kind of in front of me. It's maintained a steady pace. Because right now, this morning, I'm driving in chill mode. I don't want to be speeding. I just want a normal drive. So right now the speed limit is 50. It's staying at 50. In a 50 lane, and I'm fine with that. But the fact that it can make that decisions, based on the algorithm is just programming, and all you gotta do is pick the right setting. It does that. That's amazing. So imagine what can happen in classrooms. Imagine what the quality of feedback that students can get on their work from a technology that can get straight to the point, and then can also present the information maybe 20, 30 different ways instantaneously, easily, total recall, versus human beings where we might be like, oh my God, okay, now let me see. How can I explain to this kid? The algorithm can probably say, wait a minute, based on this child's learning profile, their individualized education plan, this is what I think is best suited for the way this child learns. So now think about all the children out here who are often struggling because the teachers themselves don't have the speed and the ability to assess and provide, the tools the child needs quickly, versus having to say, let me go back and do some research, because again, if you're in a classroom of let's say you're in a self-contained classroom of kids with their special needs, and you have 12 kids, and 12 of those kids all have varying level of needs. Imagine technology that can say, okay, listen, for this kid is this, for this kid is this, for this kid is this, all instantaneously. That is what this technology, this is what this technology can do. I'm not saying it will be able to do. I know for a fact it can literally do it. The question now is, how soon can we get into our classrooms? So real quick right now, my car is trying to make a lane change in a space where on a highway where I would be nervous, because right now the exit lane is packed. It drove up and slowly found the car that was going to be willing to let us in. And I'm asking myself, before, I would just say, let me try and go all the way to the end and bully my way in there, versus trying to merge into a lane as cars are behind me, and I don't want them to start honking because everybody in the morning is and it becomes a very emotional action. But here it was further back. It got into the center lane. It sped up and slowed down and used the signal to get back in, and found an opening where I was allowed to get back into the line. And guess what? I didn't have to think about it. I just let the vehicle do its thing, and this very human, actually not even human, Superman level, because that's what I would have to call it. The Dr. X, Superman, level thinking it can do, just making sure I get to work safely. Imagine what it can do in the classrooms, and still having a teacher in the room, but being able to pull data points in a way that's actionable, that makes sense, that can actually be used to create a professional learning profile and program for new teachers. This is the technology. This is the technology. This is what this algorithm can do, and I know it can. The question is, I need to know where it's happening so I can go there for myself and see it, because this is the reality of what we need in our schools. I know some of you are looking at me like, okay, you're doing the most. I don't agree with you, but share in the comments. What do you think about this? Is this the future that needs to be happening right now, or do you think it's too much and human beings can handle this for the next 100 years as we've been doing it for the previous 100 years? I don't know. You tell me. Please subscribe, share this, comment, engage me in dialogue here, because this is very important work, because it's happening, and I know it's going to happen, and we do not want to be left out of the conversation. All right, y'all. Uche and Joku, Sneaker Principal. Till next time, be well.